Hello, this is Stuart from Hear Me See Me podcast, and today I've got a wonderful guest, Stephen Clarke, and our link is that I have done some work there for quite a while at King George's Hostel in London, and Stephen is he works there, but he's got sort of a link to it from his past as well. So it's best explained by him. So today I'm speaking to Stephen. How are you doing, sir?
Not too bad, Stuart. How's yourself? You doing all right?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good in this wonderful pandemic that we're in.
Yes, exactly. So today for me, I would say enjoying, but I'm working from home. So just catching up with all of the admin stuff away from the hostel while the team work hard over there. So pretty much having a bed head kind of pajama day whilst working hard, but just taking advantage of the fact that obviously because many other people just have to stay at home all of the time. But yeah, feeling pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, in general. So yeah, I've got quite a bit of a segue into the charity sector, as I was helped by charities myself, basically about 5 years ago. Not homeless charities as such, but cancer charities, Macmillan and also Anthony Nolan. So pretty much 5 years in remission from cancer, which it started off as it's testicular cancer, which is pretty much like if the doctors say if you were to get one as a man, that's like, the highest survivability sort of rate of it. It's like 95% survivability. There was treatment and chemo at the beginning, but then after that, there were some complications. It had spread to the chest and abdomen, and things got a lot worse, a lot quicker. So it was sort of more treatment for a while. And then I think just after a year, they decided to reset my immune system by harvesting my stem cells and keeping them in a bag for a while and then putting them back into me slowly but surely. So basically taking away the immune system, they give you high dose chemo, which is a lot hardcore than the original chemo. It wipes everything out, including you, and then put the stem cells back in, build up a new immune system, and obviously while still fighting the cancer. And that didn't go according to plan. That was January 2015. So I think I went in April and spent 4 months at the end of that, kind of basically just with no immune system. And so they were then worried about the infections, basically finishing me off, not just the cancer as well. So there was a rapid search for a stem cell donor. Obviously happy to say I'm here talking to you about it. So they found one, but I had basically a 2-week window. Otherwise I wouldn't have made it. And they found, it was a 27-year-old guy from Leeds, I know that much. And he very, selflessly donated bone marrow and stem cells. And that's the reason why I'm sat here today talking to you. But I feel going through that experience made me think about how I was helped by charities. And before that, I was working in logistics kind of thing, making money for big companies. Yeah. Came out the other end of this after about 18 months, I think it was altogether, and then a rehabilitation, and just thought, you know what, I'm doing the wrong job here. I'm making money for, I'm doing things, coasting through life, but I need to do something else. I need to get involved with something, and I didn't know what that was. So I started volunteering mainly, food banks, mostly nearby local food banks. And then I volunteered at a local church for something called the Robes Project, which is basically you stay overnight with some group of homeless people and some other people who are volunteering, and just have some dinner with them, spend the night there, sleep in a camper bed in the church, wake up and have breakfast and talk to them and listen to their stories and their backgrounds and how they became homeless, why they became homeless. And I don't know, that first morning I just woke up and was chatting, and I was walking down the street on my way home with a sleeping bag, just going to my actual home, and just the stares from people looking at me, it's just making that assumption that I myself. And I just thought, wow, people enjoy that on a daily basis. And that with the stories, I thought that's it. That's what I want to do. And I know that in the intros to your podcasts, you say this is not a job, this is a calling. And I don't want to, those kind of people say it, but I genuinely felt that morning that this is what I've got to do now. I've got to work for a homeless charity. I need to I need to be helping someone the way I was helped, obviously in a different way. But yeah, so it was a game changer, literally a life changing situation for me. And yeah, so I'm pretty much December 3rd coming up now. I'll be 2 years in King George's Hostel, so it's my first hostel, my first entry into the sector. So I'm still a baby, so to speak. But yeah, absolutely loving it. It's the best decision I've ever made, hands down.
So take me back to that time when you were going through all that. So you know, because it often seems to be like big life changing events that change our focus like this. What was it like to be? So you was 4 months in hospital.
At the end, yeah. So
Yeah,
it was.
what was that like?
There are obviously bits I can't remember, but I think to say that was probably the lowest point or darkest point, as would be an understatement. I think I was severely ill. I was around about 42 kilos at one point. Had to be carried to I couldn't get out of bed. Basically, when I say 4 months, with the exception of 1 or 2 visits or having tests or X-rays, I did not leave that room. I wasn't able to go to the toilet on my own. Sometimes I'd have to, buzz nurses in because I've just basically gone in the bed, that kind of thing. So, and on a 24-hour morphine drip as well. The pain is pretty unbearable whilst all that was going on, because I think the thing with chemotherapy as well is that it attacks you as well as the cells. So having high dose chemo and having the stem cells fail was it was a low point. And there were times when I thought to myself, I just wanted it to end. And to be brutally honest, I was exhausted mentally and physically. I couldn't really carry on, or I thought I couldn't anyway. And then obviously things took a turn. But yeah, some dark times and low times. But then when I reflect on those times and see where I am now, and it's something to be thankful for, rather than to look back and go, oh, that was really bad and stuff like that. I'm extremely grateful and will always continue to be. Yeah. So a completely different outlook on life. Nothing like almost passing to do that to you, I'd say, to be honest.
Yeah. It's and it's something else that when you were talking about that, you said about this, the feeling of judgment you had when you was coming back from that sleeping that night, and you had your sleeping bag and the looks and things like that. I remember early thought, because this week we just had our 6th anniversary, so it's 6 years ago I started doing it. And at the beginning, it was a lot of walking around, and I remember going to one of my favourite, Whitechapel Mission, and on the way back, I walked. I think I was going to meet someone, but I walked through Brick Lane and that, and I'd got myself a cup of tea in the bagel shop, and I had all these. So it was a really hot day, so I was all sweaty. I had my old clothes on. I was pulling a trolley, and I had I had a cup of tea, and I stopped and asked this old couple. I said, "Where do you know where the station is?" And they pointed me up the way. And as I walked away, they went, "Oh, isn't it a shame?"
Yeah.
And I thought, I've been doing this too long now. I'm morphing into a homeless person.
Yeah, I mean that to me was just like glances, and which I just thought to myself, that was only like not even a minute percentage of what the clients go through, or what these people were going through. But that first night in that church, I met an architect. I met a lady who was an opera singer who sang at the Royal Albert Hall.
Yeah.
Another guy who travelled the world, a computer scientist, and basically it's that certain things happened in their lives, in their past, that led them to become homeless. And these are the things that I think sometimes, not everybody, but so general perception sometimes of homeless people is almost like if you see someone on the street begging outside of a shop, or somebody's high perhaps, or they're staggering around and they're really drunk, it can be sometimes, it's judgment, but also, it's almost like, do they wake up and decide to do heroin or crack cocaine, or do they just decide, my life's great, but I'm going to start drinking like nobody's business or whatever? It's nothing like that at all. There are things going back to even childhood trauma, perhaps, or something. Yeah. There's a reason, there's a story, there's a background to everyone, and they're all completely different. So, yeah, like I say, there's so many talented people I met that night, and I was like, wow, I've got to do something. Like this is it now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's a powerful thing. I mean, and I've met many people like that who I've been shocked. I've been shocked that they are in the position they've been. And you mentioned, you know, people like architects and people that you imagine wouldn't have these problems, and very extremely talented people as well. I was in a
yeah,
homeless centre once in Slough, and a young guy. There was a guitar there, and this young guy was trying to play. And this, he was, I think he was Eastern European guy, but he couldn't speak English. But he come over and he sort of sign language. Look, give it to me. I'll show you. And he proceeded to play, and it all went deadly quiet. And he was like, you would pay money to hear him play. He went through rock and classical and you know, that Spanish guitar as well. He was doing
yeah.
so talented, and you think people are walking past this person, not knowing this incredible talent that he is.
Yeah, exactly. And the same goes for the 68 guys in our hostel in King George's. That some of the art they produce, the music that I'm part of the music group at the moment because we can't get the volunteers in to do that. So I've had to get involved in that, really, you know, twist my arm, because I absolutely adore music myself and have performed for a long time. So to get to play with the guys, and I'm like, okay, what do you want to do? Oh, can you play this? And the guy starts finger picking flamenco guitar like Spanish, and I'm going, okay, you can show me some stuff then. How about you show, or some DJs that have done, you know, huge clubs, just, you know, on the decks, like, and then yeah, so much skill. And the artists as well. We recently had a Christmas card art competition run by Single Homeless Project, and 2 guys from our hostel and a few others from other ones like won it. And I'm just like, the creativity and everything is astounding. And there's so much potential in the clients and in these guys. And like, so it's our job to support them and get them into either their own accommodation or with floating support. So it's, you know, we're 24/7, maybe they can have someone around them to if they still need that. But yeah, it's astounding. It blows my mind. And they're just all amazing people as well. And I just, you know, it's a tough job, but it's one that I love. And, you know, you need a good team as well. So thankfully I've got that at King George's. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So where's your passion for music come from when you were young?
So, oh, wow. So basically, I think going back to 1995 now, just after I'd finished high school, starting college, formed a band with my friends, not really taking it seriously, doing a few gigs after that. And then I think a couple of years after that, things started to take off a bit. And then I was involved in tours, going and things like that. Never reached that level of getting signed, but with the last band I was in a while ago, about 10 years or so, there was interest then, and there was Radio 1 sessions, and we were getting noticed. And we were from Stoke-on-Trent in the Midlands as well, so it was one of those kind of like, okay, we're making a racket and people are interested. Nice. But then I petered out. But I've always been involved in music. In 2007, I set up my own promotions company, DIY company called Wrong Pot, which basically put gigs on in Stoke-on-Trent because we weren't getting those smaller kind of gigs, if you know what I mean. So you'd have the Enemy type bands and the big capacity venues in Stoke, but all these small pubs where bands who no one had ever heard of, because that's where they all start, right?
Yeah.
Had anywhere to play. So I set that up, and that took off and was really good for a while. And with that platform, released some albums as well. Did an album for Deafness Research UK. Actually did an album for a charity called Checkham Lads, which is the male testicular cancer charity that helped me as well while I was ill. So that was a labour of love. Took about a year and had about 30 bands on. And then I recently, not so long ago, during the whole lockdown, it was like the 10th anniversary of one of the bands I was in that had become quite popular back then. So I just 10th anniversary, got it on Bandcamp, and that raised some money. So I've always fundraised anyway with Wrong Pot with gigs and albums, but then that sort of wants to raise money and to help people sort of was lit a little bit there, but then the fire was lit after coming out of the illness and going, right, I need to change it now. So music will always be a passion of mine, and to be able to play with the guys like I've just sort of mentioned, it's amazing. Like I get to, part of my job is to spend an hour or so each time playing guitar or getting on the decks, or we've got some Logic X as well, and there's a little mini studio so we can record them. Yeah, that's amazing. My job is already great, and then they've asked me to do this now, and I'm just like, okay, yeah. So yeah, music and charity have always been together hand in hand for me. But yeah, absolutely love music.
I mean, and the thing is, what a great thing as a extracurricular activity in the hostel, because it's cathartic, isn't it? Music is healing. Like anything creative is really healing. So it's a great thing. You've got quite a lot going on there, haven't you? With as outside things.
Yeah, so obviously with the lockdown, we can't get volunteers in, and the groups have to be a lot smaller. But we've also got a life skills kitchen. Some of the guys recently have been cooking like a large meals, some curries and stuff like that, large enough to feed most of the guys in the hostel as well. For the sports, they had a sports day recently, which obviously had to be sort of controlled, whatnot. But it was in the local park, St. James Park. We used the basement, and SHP released a little video on that. So. And we did some interviews about that ourselves, and just to see the difference it makes to the guys, and the fact that we can still, despite the lockdown, despite restrictions, somehow quite limited, but we can still have these music groups, we can still have a cooking session, and we can still have it because they need an output, they need a distraction, they need, like we all do, but they need it more so because there's different kinds of addictions and there's mental health things going on as well. So it's nice and cathartic, like you say, for anybody just to be able to do something during these times. So
yeah,
I'm grateful for that. Yeah.
I mean, that was one of the first places I went back to after lockdown, and the welcome I got was incredible from the guys. Like, oh man, how you been? And
Yeah.
and it's really, really enjoyable, and so it gets onto my point that like with all the trauma you've been through in recent years, I've been through some stuff myself, and it's a real antidote to all the stuff that's going on. Is that what you find? That doing the work is an antidote to your own stuff.
Yeah, no, exactly, and it does help. So from that point of view, most definitely, it's if you love your job, you never work a day in your life, and that's a cliche, that's a saying. But I think about that now, and we obviously do work hard, but to me, it is an antidote. It is that it's something that makes, from a selfish point of view, I guess you could say, it makes me feel good about myself that my job involves working with the team and others to help people.
Yeah.
But also, I'm happy because I'm doing it as well. But the job I was doing before, it just made me think to myself, why was I doing that before? And, hindsight, etc. And there's no point really looking back, like I say, but 2 years in, and I think you were talking to it on the last podcast where you mentioned someone, now this is what you're going to be doing for the rest of your life, right?
Yeah.
First weekend, perhaps I wasn't so sure because it's quite a hectic place to work in King George's, but almost 2 years in now, I can for certain say this is it for me now. Obviously, I wouldn't want homeless to be a constant thing so that we've all got a job. We're trying to end homelessness.
Yeah.
But in regards to what I'm doing right now in this charity, as of now, however long it takes, I'm in for the long haul. Like, that's it. Like, this is my career, this and the charity, and SHP as well, a really amazing charity, because they gave me a chance where I spent 12 months trying to get into the sector. I went everywhere, and because I'd only volunteered with Robes, for example, and done the odd food bank, my experience level was pretty low, but my enthusiasm was always like through the roof. I was just, and it got to an SHP interview, and I was just like, I sat there, and it was for a day concierge role. So we're sitting on reception and day-to-day tasks, appointments, helping with the maintenance of the building, and I was, told them, and I was pretty much like, whatever it is you want, I'll do it. Do I need to clean the toilet? Whatever. Like, I just wanted to get in there and just learn from these amazing people who I work with now and anything. I was just so determined, and I think they went, okay, I think that's fine. The experience is very low, but we can teach all of that. this enthusiasm, this like passion that's coming out from you, I guess, is something that we can't teach, and it's already embedded in you, and you're obviously very excited about it. So I think they gave me the chance, and here I still am working for them, and yeah, and still learning. Every day you're learning, man. It's amazing.
That's and the fulfillment of that is incredible. And there's a lot of people out there who they don't want to maybe give their whole career over to it, but they want to do something. But it often stops them because they think then they can't do much. But like if everyone does a small amount, it makes a difference, and it can lead on to other things, can't it?
No, exactly. I think you've hit the nail on the head there, Stuart, because I think that is the case for some people, friends of mine, who are like, oh, you know, is it enough if I do this? And the answer is yes, a resounding yes, because I think the smallest thing can make a huge difference to our guys, you know, guys and girls. So they, you know, you've probably had nothing for such a long amount of time, and somebody like even stopping and talking to them in the street and having a conversation with them, ask them their name. You know, how's it going? How are you doing? And whatever. However long like that, they could just be like, oh wow, someone spoke to me like a human being, because that's what we all are. It's human beings, and we've all got the same rights and to a good life. And yeah, so that makes a huge difference. And obviously, the guys, like say when you came back to the hostel not so long ago, and some of our guys were like, hey, you know, they were happy to see you and stuff at that as well. But also, that's the thing, isn't it? It's things that the rest of us take for granted, like, for example, a haircut where, okay, lockdown aside, you could go out, get a trim if you want. If you wanted a new hairstyle, you can just, that's not, you do it without thinking about it.
Yeah.
I mean, the before and after for some of our guys, for example, and you can just see, like, when some pictures were taken for social media and that were shared, and when I see some that you post on Twitter, for example, it's like you just see that before and after, and it's always just a lovely smile.
Yeah.
You know, afterwards, and it's not just because of it, but it's a game changer for them. They're like, I feel really good about myself now, whereas perhaps they haven't done before. So it's, yeah, I'd implore anyone, if they were listening to this and they're thinking, what can I do? See how it fits in with your schedule. If you're really a busy person and there's not much you can do, maybe there might be some stuff online, anything at all, because it does, like I say, it makes a huge difference to the men and women who are homeless and just want the same things as the rest of us do. So yeah, I'd implore anyone to, they feel like they can't make a difference. Yes, you can. Yeah. So go for it. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and you mentioned people with a busy schedule, but I think probably more than most, the people with busy schedules probably need an hour a week. Stop thinking about their schedule, you know, like that. They probably need it more than anyone.
No, I think it would benefit them as well to have a break from that busy lifestyle, because one of the things I've learned a hell of a lot during this process, or during this job, is that you can't really look after anyone if you can't look after yourself.
Yeah.
And it's quite easy to just put your head down and work, and then you kind of burn out, and then you're too tired to do anything else, and then but you still got a job to do, and you go back to the grind, and it's like, okay. And I worked extremely hard in previous jobs before. Was probably worked too hard by managers as well, you know. And so the difference for me in the job I was in to this one, you're appreciated. You're treated like as well as someone who can just do a job really well, make someone a lot of money. People are concerned about you. They care about you. Like, say, the management that I'm experiencing at the moment is second to none. And that's not just because the managers might listen to this at all, but basically, I've worked under a lot of different managers before, and this to see the managers like do the jobs that we do as well, and they'll, you know, they help with room check, they do other things as well. They're happy to get stuck in as well. They wouldn't ask you to do something that they wouldn't do themselves.
Yeah.
It's not, I'm the boss, I'm the big cheese of this place. Why would I even want to talk to her? I'm running this gaff. Not like that at all. Everyone gets involved. We've had some new members in as well, and it's fitting together really nicely, kind of thing, and it just gels, and they're friends as well as colleagues, and yeah, extremely lucky. And I'm very, just to, like I say, just always learning, and years down the line you'll always learn, because situations change. For example, this year, you know, that's a drastic one, but But the way that we've adapted and the team's adapted and SHP as a whole has adapted to make sure that we're still providing that same level of support. It's phenomenal. Like it's mind blowing at times that we're still going because
yeah. I mean, and another thing in there when you visit, and I've been there a few times now, is the camaraderie and the atmosphere. It has its volatile times or its down times. You know, they've always got like a general atmosphere, places like that, where one thing can affect the whole mood of the building. But more times than not, it's just such good fun. There's such good camaraderie going on.
No, exactly. And with the haircut, when we get people in, the sports guys, yourself, just to get things going. But yeah, the team itself, the camaraderie, and yeah, when it's good, yeah, it's totally fine. And there are difficult times there. You know, it's not all plain sailing in the sense of you come in and you just get on with your job. It's a very unpredictable place to work in this particular hostel, because we are dealing with 68 guys, but also with drug and alcohol addiction, complex mental health needs as well. Sometimes it's a mixture of all of those together, perhaps, you know. So there can be incidents, there can be times when 999 is called for police or paramedics or things like that. But the way that it's dealt with and the way that the team come together and work together through those times, but also, yeah, we have fun as well. You know, we get on with stuff and we have fun with the clients. And like I say, it's just nice to you have that professional connection with a client. So as of earlier this year, I went from a concierge, so I'm now a project worker, so I get to work one-to-one. I've got my own group of clients. And you build up that professional relationship, but you build up within boundaries, of course. You know, you don't become the best of friends, but you get to know someone better, you know their background, and it helps you to help them and support those guys as well. So even during this time, we've managed to get people into detox. A couple of guys have moved on from the hostel as well. And that's a testament to the team and the clients as well, though, because they want it. They you know, we're a move on hostel. We're pretty much around roughly about a minimum of 2 years before somebody would get moved on, kind of thing. And at the moment, like say under the new management and the team, we're seeing that happen. So when we have our meetings and we talk about, say, obviously, you know, Mr. X has left now and is in support somewhere else, and you're like, that's so cool, you know. So yes, it's hectic. Yes, it can be chaotic, and there are down times perhaps when things don't go your way. But that's far outweighed by the detox that we get people, you know, detox or rehab or the success stories, or you know, when I first started, I met a guy, and his project work had got him off somewhere, and he was in such a state, you know, at the time, and you kind of think, wow, how's this even going to happen? Because I had no idea how it worked. I'm like, how do you get somebody who's like on heroin and doing all of these crazy things? Like, how do you get them? I don't. And this guy called the hostel, and I kind of knew. I mean, it's like, oh hey, it's like, who is it? It's like, oh, blah. I'm like, sorry, I don't recognize the voice. And it's like, it's me. I'm like, wow. And you know, this was months down the line, and he'd sorted himself out, and it was just like, oh, okay. So it wasn't that I didn't think it was possible. I just wasn't sure how it was done. You know, the whole thing in place with the support system, so many different avenues and outside agencies as well, you know. So now I'm learning all of that and getting together. I did have one of my clients about a month or so ago. He's moved into floating support with St. Mungo. So it's, yeah, you take the small victories and you run with them, because it just goes to show you're doing a good job, and it can work. So yeah, seeing it happen is, there isn't anything like it, you know. Yeah,
they're modern day miracles. I mean, they are. When you see the change in someone, and I think they are miracles, because over my years, I mean, I'm 14 and a half years sober, and over that time, I've seen a lot of people come in, and then the person they are now is unrecognisable from the person you first met. And the thing, but the trouble is more often than not, that change doesn't happen, because it's not an easy thing.
No.
So when it happens, it's so special. And the thing is, it does ripple out. Those guys you're talking about, Even though there's sometimes they've lost contact, you know, sometimes there are families and there are friends and there are former colleagues, all that, and that healing ripples out amongst all of those people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, for example, Stuart, like as you've just said about being in recovery yourself, you know, like I'm talking to you now. You wouldn't know. This is the thing. You wouldn't know. Talk to you, having this conversation, unless you actually said. And that's the whole thing about it. When our guys go out there, and some do their own volunteering, perhaps or whatever, and they might come back and they're like, oh, no one looked at me today like I was home. They didn't have that, not you know, that persecution of the stare from a stranger who knows nothing about them, and just like as we've said earlier in the podcast, like makes that judgment.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just feel like there are times where you give everything like into something, and sometimes you see someone might go off, for example, and get into detox or rehab or whatever, and then somehow, you know, slip through the cracks and then come back. And because it's all new to me, if that's happened before, I'm like, right, okay. But you just keep trying again, and you keep, you know, you don't think, okay, you've had this one chance now that you've come back, and it's we can't do anything else about it. There's resilience to the team anyway that I've experienced, and to the guys where it's. So with SHP, there's a lot of things that we talk about, and another thing that we say is that we see people, not problems.
Yeah.
And when that was kind of up when I was doing like a corporate induction there, and I was looking out at the posters, and you know, being a new guy to sector, and I looked up and I saw it, and I thought, that's okay. That's just something they've put up there for. But the more you think about that, and as we've discussed already earlier on with the architect, the opera singer, and everything else such as that, or the you know, the graphic designer, the sports people that are just really musicians, all of that, you know, their background, they're all human beings, and you've got to look at the person, and then you work with the problems, but you see them as a person first and foremost, and you get to know that person, and then you can work on the rest. I feel like as a project worker, let's just say you could be the best in the business, you know, best at getting housing benefits, all of these kind of things, just be really good at your job, but you've also got to have that connection as well. I feel like, because well, it's my own sort of opinion really, but I feel like if you've got all of these skills here, they don't mean as much or matter so much if you can't make a connection with that client. If that client doesn't particularly want to know you or anything like that, then it's harder to get all of the other things done and to get them to work with you more. So it's one of the best things is when a client maybe turns around and starts to trust you and actually think, okay, because a lot of them have been let down, you know, so many times that you can't just come in and guilty as charged, go in to a charity or, for example, King George's Hostel, go, right, I've got really good intentions, whatever my background is or whatever the reason why I came to this job, which we've discussed, that doesn't matter, because if I come into this job and I'm like, right, I'm going to help everybody because I want to, and that's going to mean that I'm going to help you, yeah, surely that's it. No, it doesn't work that way. And I've seen during the 2 years there've been a few people come in with the same thing like I did and just didn't stick it out because they thought, okay, this isn't what I thought it would be. Now, it is quite a high risk, complex needs place, so it can be tough to work in when things go down, for example. But I'm grateful that I did stick it out. My first week or two, I did go back to my partner at the time and just said, I really wanted to do something, but I'm not sure I can do anything here. Like I made a big mistake. Like, what have I done, you know, sort of coming back. But then just the staff at the time they were like, no, it's worth it. And I stuck it out. And like I say, I've said that to a couple of people before now, but yeah, the team that I can see coming together now, it's a long-term team, and you know, you've got to have that connection with your colleagues as well. So yeah, extremely happy for that. But and like I say, I'm glad I stuck it out after those 2 weeks.
Yeah,
I was like, yeah, after going through all of that, I haven't spent a year trying to get into the sector to just quit after a couple of hard weeks. Right, so yeah, I'm glad it paid off. Yeah,
it's very similar to our volunteers because a lot of times they tend to you can tell when they arrive. We do have a briefing, and you can tell they've been up the night before thinking all these scenarios, what's going to happen, and it's
Yeah.
never as bad as they imagine. But
No.
occasionally, you do get someone, they say, look, it's just, some say it's just not for me. Some just don't come back. But the majority, once they've done it, they're full of it.
Mm.
You know, they can't, and especially, I think the industry I'm in, it's a very pretty, beautiful industry.
Yeah.
Very pretty, beautiful people, you know, and it makes a complete difference to do something it's like I said before, it's very pure hairdressing, because often there's like money changes hands, and it's business, and but this is a real and kids who used to come to me to work in my salon years ago, they just wanted to be a hairdresser, and they just wanted to do hair, and they didn't really want to be selling shampoo and doing all of these things and becoming and looking after their column and all these things. They just wanted to do hair, and it sort of takes you right back to that, this real connection with someone. And I think you can see how it affects someone after they've done some volunteering. You know, like it really changes their perspective on things.
Yeah, 100% agree. When somebody does that, like say, that's how I was doing it at food banks and at the Robes Project. It gave me that bug. It took me one day in the church to get that and be like, right, okay, this is the thing. But then, yeah, I've had friends who have kind of gone, well, how can I get into it? You work for a charity, what can I do? And they go and do a few things, and yeah, a few people are okay. Wasn't really, but they gave it a go. You've got to give them credit for that. To the people that come to King George's maybe and have gone, this isn't for me, or maybe this hostel maybe not for them. Maybe they would be better in a lower, a smaller place with less people where they could still give that level of support, for example. Yeah. But friends of mine who, especially in the music industry, who I still stay in contact with, and they're going, oh, let's see if we can put something out, and they might not necessarily be helping Single Homeless Project, but they've gone and done an album for somebody else, and or they've gone to volunteer. We get a lot of people from businesses, perhaps, who, COVID permitting, of course, they come over and do some stuff as well, and they're like, it is fulfilling. Of course, it's natural, and it's okay to feel good about helping people. It can be seen as selfish. I feel great because I'm helping someone, but yeah, and so you should, Yeah. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing, and it's. I always think to myself, I wish I'd done it sooner, but obviously you can't predict these things. I could never have predicted what happened all those years ago, anyway. But it did, and because that happened, fire was lit, and I'm healthy as anything right now as I'm talking to you. No problems or issues. Yeah, 100% fine now.
Yeah, I mean. And that's the thing. Sometimes we just have to go through these things, and that's a reason. Maybe that's if you're looking for reasons for things to happen. Like the last week's was to ban Suresh, and she was saying the same thing. That's what helps her to make sense of it. That she, to go through, horrendous, what her life was horrendous, but it puts a purpose in our way. And I would rather not gone through everything I went through with the, child abuse at a young age, and then the addictions and what I did to my family. But what I'm grateful is that I've still got a family, and I am of use, and even though they don't realise, I love them all dearly, and I'm so privileged to sort of have the life that I've got now. I'm thankful every day.
Yeah, I think 100% agree with you on that. I feel like, and also I feel sometimes I can still be quite hard on myself as well, though. Like, it's kind of, you go through something like that, like you said, your own trauma, but it affects your family and it affects other people as well. And you see that with our clients when they're like, my family have kicked me out, they hate me, or they don't want anything to do with me, I can't really connect, or whatever that is. But for me, coming out of that, there was a long time where, like say, even when I came out of that hospital after 4 months, I was still very weak and tired, still barely weighed anything. And my mind was getting so excited. And what they say is that if you come through something like this, sort of a near-death experience, so to speak, then you want to fly across mountains, you want to travel the world, your mind's going hyper, like I've just come out of this and I'm still around, I need to do all this, but your body's still frail and weak and tired. And I spent about another 18 months doing rehabilitation and things like that. So my body basically couldn't keep up with my mind. So my mind, I was going, wait, I need to, and because of that, I couldn't do the things that I wanted to do. Depression kicks in, you feel very, and that's why even now I'm still quite hard on myself, and sometimes it feels like I'm not doing enough, even though it is enough. But I gave myself a hard time, even after that, like mentally struggled, because I gave myself such a hard time saying I need to do this now, whether or not it's to make up for the help that I had or anything like that now. But where I am now, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm, like I say, healthy wise, I've been training for about 10 weeks now. So it turned out that whilst I'd lost all that weight, I only found out 5 years later that I've got like scoliosis in the back. So my spine's curved because I lost so much weight.
Yeah.
I moved for such a long amount of time that I was getting some pains, and I went to an osteopath, and it's like, oh yeah, your spine's a bit buggered there, mate. So I went to the gym to train, got an actual trainer who's still training me now in the park in the freezing cold, and is really hard like on me. But I love that, and he knows my background, and he knows, so I'm getting a bit of balance back, a bit more muscle, a bit more weight, and to be honest, I probably feel it's the best I felt physically even before I was ill, because I'm actually taking much more care of my body now. So now my body, like I say, is catching up in my mind, and now I can do all of these things, and or try to. And obviously, COVID comes along and says, not this year, mate. No, not. But I've still been training, and I've still been enjoying that. So that keeps me going, as well as the job, just being able to physically exert myself and just to have that. And it's what our guys want as well. One of our guys is getting a set of weights, and he just wants to train and get back his kind of, his physique, his mojo, or whatever you want to call it. And the fact that he knows those weights are coming, he's amazing. And so I'm going to do some training with him as well. He's one of my clients. And so times like that, when you're doing that, or I'm doing music in the studio, and other times as well, but those main points for me, I'm like, this is my job. Are you serious? Like, okay, building that connection through music, through a haircut, through cooking. A game of pool. We've got a pool table down there. You can have some good conversations around a pool table with the guys as well. So, so many things, mate. So many things, and it's all great. Yeah.
Well, it's been. I feel like I know you already anyway, but it's been really good to talk to you. And hopefully, I mean, we're out of lockdown next week, so I reckon I can get back there pretty soon. Probably we've got the mad season coming towards us, so definitely January time I'll be back there. So hopefully we'll coordinate that when it's a day when you're in, and we can have a cup of tea together.
Yeah, no, most definitely. I know we've had a bit of a chit chat, and then usually I'm running off, or someone, we're here, there, and everywhere. So you get those fleeting moments. But yeah, I'll make some time for you, Stuart. Not a problem, man.
Fantastic.
Yeah, thanks for asking me to do this. By the way, it's been very nice to get it all out and to talk about the job that I love. So yeah.
No, I really appreciate it, and I've really enjoyed talking to you.
Excellent.
And I'll see you very soon. Thanks, Steve.
Yeah, let's get that brew. Yeah.
Yes, definitely. Cheers,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cool.